Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences.
Get on with it.
So if you're tuning into this video, you've probably already watched the non-spoiler review that I've given of the game, and you will notice that I was a little bit harsh on it. Well, for good reasons I feel, but maybe some of you enjoyed it a lot more, fair enough. I just don't quite get how some critics can give this such a glowing review when certain aspects of this game can just kill it or throw it wildly out of control. You know, Ticket to Ride is a gateway level game that has a fair amount of luck, yes, but there is meant to be some decent tactics to it, and even then, it's not meant to be just wacky party game fun. It's meant to have at least some kind of structure, but you know, I digress. Those are my reasons, it's my opinion, it's the way it's going to go. But some of you who have played this game are now going to want to know what specific aspects I liked and what I didn't like from a spoiler perspective. So yes, if you have not watched the other video, then go do so first, because from this point on, spoiler, 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 you have been warned.
Everybody got that?
So why don't we talk about some of the good parts, because it's not like the game was outright terrible. There were some good bits. Well, one thing I did quite like, for the most part, were these employees. The idea that you could start off with a drafted player power that was your own power that you had for the game, and some of these had limited usage. You know, that was pretty cool. That being said, the ones that you got early were pretty much never picked after you got some of the much more powerful ones as you went through the game, and you know, some of these were definitely way more powerful than others by a massive long shot, but still it was good to have these ones. Although I never got to be the president, which is the one you get for coming last in the game, because I never came last in the game. I came second overall in the campaign, but you know, the wins that I got were not as massively ridiculous wins as the people, and also for reasons that I'll get onto later, the person who did win had a game where they completely creamed the rest of us because of a broken combo. So, you know, these employees do lend themselves to that. I mean, the idea of like, okay, when you build a tunnel, you can play 1 or 2 train cards as this. Start with 2 more train cards. Start with 2 more train cards is such a lame power. That really doesn't help. Collect $5 at the start of the game. That would be great if $5 actually meant something. By the time you get through this game, the points are just so inflated and the money is just so crazy that collecting 5 is absolutely worthless. You know, what else have we got? Draw 2 extra tickets. That was probably the one semi-useful one from the beginning lot, but even then there was much better stuff out there. The vice president, oh my word, those company stickers, the ones that you put on the board to state, let's see, yeah, got one here. So we got the yellow sticker there on this one, on El Paso. What a place to put a company town. Well, this one lets you put one out at the start of the game. I never got to see this card apart from once, because every time the person last or third from last place came, they nicked it. So, you know, I never got to put a lot of company towns on the board because this was just so much more sought after. And what other ones were there? I mean, I'm trying to think. At the start of your turn, you may look at the top card of the train deck. You know, fairly useful, but not entirely great. There's some like the silent partner, claim money every time you claim a grey route, and like stuff like that. They're fine, but man, some of the retired employees we had, we were so glad to see them out of the game because they were just bonkers powerful. I mean, this is the dead letter office that we've got. So here we go. I think here's the employees that we had at the end. Collect money for each port city you've connected to. Pretty good. It was popular, but it wasn't stupidly overpowered. The gambler. Place one of your tickets under this employee face down, and at the end of the game, it's worth double value. Broken. You can turn a 28-point ticket into a 56-point card. And all you've got to do is succeed in it, which, given that the game gives you the piggyback rule, the one that lets you claim a route that's already been claimed, it's not difficult to complete your long ticket in this game. So that's basically just a 28-point card for taking it. Ridiculous. The financier. When claiming the route, you can play fewer train cards than required by paying $2 for each unplayed card. Yeah, much better. Losing a few coins is nothing compared to getting those key routes down. And while we're on the subject of this financier card, the play fewer train cards than required, why don't we get on to that broken game I mentioned? Oh boy, that broken game. Where is it? Let's see. I've got a lot to say about this particular board, actually, because out of all the board unlocks, this is the worst board in the game. This is a stupid idea. The Haunted Waste. I hated this board with a passion, because already you've got the train, the ghost train that goes around these tracks, and it's random roll the die when you play a white route, and it lands. If it lands next to your route, you get a curse card, and these curse cards are not mild curses. They are insane, and you have to discard 3 cards at the start of your turn to get rid of these, which is a good chunk of your hand. That's a painful thing to do, and these curses are horrible. I mean, you can't use an employee. You have to discard an extra card every time you claim a route. You cannot use the piggyback thing. Ignore your company bonus card, the one that gets you money for doing your own colour routes. You cannot claim a route into the Haunted Waste at all. That's like a part of the map that's entirely nerfed. You know, these are just so bad, and it's random when you get the curses. So why would you build in the Haunted Waste? There's just no incentive, except for the first time it comes out, where it has these like tunnel tracks, which are hard to get the cards for. They give you a little bit of extra money, and that's it. That's the only reason to go into the Haunted Waste. Other than that, you might as well try and go up or below it, because this one is not worth it. But man, the game that broke was all because of this board and this card. It took 2 components to break the game, right? Because there are routes on here where when you complete the tunnel, you get money as well as the route. Okay, so if I've got 4 green and they've all got the pickaxe symbol on them, I complete the route, I build the tunnel, and I get 10 bucks for it, okay? That's how they work in this game. It's better than the normal tunnel rule. The financier, as written, says when claiming a route, you may play fewer train cards than required by paying 2 for each card. So with this card, the player who broke the game was able to basically say, right, this one that is 5-6 long or whatever, and will get me like 20 coins for building it. Oh well, I've got 1 or 2 of my yellows here with pickaxes. You know what? I'm just going to pay 8 bucks to ignore the rest of the track. I get the entire route down, and I get reimbursed for the money I spent doing it. The speed at which he was able to get his trains out is unlike anything I've ever seen in a Ticket to Ride game. It is physically impossible to go as quick as he did, and it all came from 1 broken employee and 1 board.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Now maybe an errata or an FAQ will clarify that this doesn't work for those routes, but as written, it doesn't say it doesn't, therefore we had to take it as that, and it ruined the game. 2 components. Yeah, balance. Think about that when you play test your games, for crying out loud. And you know, this Haunted Waste, this is horrible. So, okay, why don't I talk about some of the other board unlocks? I mean, I've got Sierra Madre here. This one I actually kind of quite liked. I mean, you had a gold treasure map thing, so it had half decent routes, a big network, which I was really annoyed I couldn't get a company town on that one, because that was a really good place to put it. But you essentially build in this route, you draw treasure map cards, it's luck of the draw as to whether you get the duplicates, and then you have to basically do this whole thing with the train deck where you draw a ton of cards from it, like 10 cards, and for every skull that you get, you have to discard a map fragment card. So you go skull, 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 skull. Like, I've literally just tried to do it myself, and I've got 5 skulls in a row. That means I need 5 unique map fragment cards, of which there are 6, I believe. So I'm already screwed. Skull, and fine, and skull. Right, well, I failed that. I mean, literally, I drew 6 skulls in, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 skulls in 8 cards I drew there. Pure luck. You know, it's pure randomness as to whether you get the treasure. But it's worth it when you get it, and it still made us go for it. So as much as it is an annoying luck of the draw, you can mitigate it to a point, and the diminishing returns aren't huge as you find the treasure after 1 player has done it. And I managed to get it first. I felt pretty good about it. So, I mean, this was an okay board, but not amazing. What else we got? That's let's see, I don't want to use the base set boards. So, what do we got here then? Appalachia, nope, that's starting. Open range, here we go. So, I think the open range introduced the idea of the robber. That was it, yes, the robber. Now, the robber was a single piece. Where are you? Here you go. Single bit, which worked almost a bit like Catan with one of the events where it got you to discard cards, but mainly every time you play the locomotive, you put the robber on a location and it drains a money or card from the person that's next door to it, okay? Very annoying, and again, it's something that hurts you and doesn't feel fun. I had a postcard in this game that said, you ignore all effects of the robber until it's arrested or put in jail. It never got put in jail. It literally, like, I think the event Wanted or whatever came out once or twice, and only once was it acted upon, and all it did was take it out of that game. It didn't arrest it or put it in that. So I had that card in my possession the entire campaign from the get-go, and it basically meant that this entire mechanic was trivialized for me. I had no care about it. A whole mechanic from a whole board, and I didn't care. So I could basically make everybody else's day worse, and they couldn't affect me. That's not fun for them, and it just felt overpowered for me. A fact that postcards can do this. I mean, that's all this board adds. It just basically added something that annoys players. And we got to a point where we forgot this thing was in the game, because when you get to the later part of the campaign, the points are so inflated and crazy that you just don't remember that you've got to move this guy, because it's like, I'll put him here, pay a coin. Oh yeah, I got to pay a coin, whatever. You're ending the game with like 60 to 100 coins in some instances if you've done well. What do you care about one? It's just, most of the time I forgot to move it because it never affected me and nobody else really cared. So it's just such a lame mechanic as well. Not interesting, not fun. Right, what else we got here? Let's grab some more out of this box. Okay, here we go. So, all right, I've been talking a lot of hate. Let's talk about one that I legitimately liked, Florida. It's a tiny little bit of the board. I mean, it literally adds 3 cities, whoop-de-doo. But it added the cool circus mechanic, which I quite liked. I mean, this was definitely random luck as well, but it was just a neat idea that you got this little circus box here, and you drew the tickets out of it. I mean, I don't know if I can grab the reel out of here because you have to stop after a certain point, but maybe if I just tear the box of it, because well, it's going in the bin, what do I care. But basically it draws these little train stickers out and you put them on your own circus card in front of you and you try to collect sets of the different trains. This was a cool little gimmick and we enjoyed gunning for these because you had to build bigger routes in order to do it. But the thing is that the ones that you've got to build different trains for, they get you different amount of points. There is no reason to build the cheaper trains. You can build a too long train, gets you 8 coins. Or you could get the 5 one and get 64 or whatever it was. Like 5 or 6 different trains and you've got 64 points. Go for the 64. I mean, it won't take you that long. You'll be able to do it by the time this goes away. Easily be able to do that train. And 64 dwarfs the other points. There was no point going for the cheapies. And the animal sanctuary thing on the back of your thing, near worthless. Like, it never came into play. It's just, oh, I've got a throwaway ticket, I'll put it on there and it's worth a couple of points. As if you care when the game ends with 1,000 plus. But it was a fun little gimmick mechanic, but going back to the problem I said in the other review, it was very much a, this is cool, and it's gone. Yeah, 2 games and we were done with this. What was it? Maybe 3 games. Maybe this lasted a little bit longer. But again, it's like, it's there and then it's gone and you enjoy it and you kind of wish it came back or just lasted the rest of the campaign. But nope, it was fine. But this was probably one of the better boards overall. Not the best board. I think there was one that I liked more. But let's see how long we get to that. The Badlands. What did the Badlands even add? I'm not even sure what it added. I mean, that's the thing. The Badlands, I can't even remember what it added. That's how little impact this one had. I can't remember if it was but I literally cannot remember what the Badlands did. I mean, that's how little impact this board had. I cannot remember what it had on it. That's pretty bad going. And I don't know, can I get the box? Will that tell me? Any remnants? No. No, I literally can't remember what the Badlands did. It's so uneventful, I don't really care. Alright, fine. Somebody else can mention that one. Oh god. California. This is up there with the Haunted Wastes as being downright broken. This one, you get points if you build over these routes. Cool, fair enough. Except that there are random events in this deck, several, which when they come out, they cause earthquakes. And when the earthquakes happen, the trains that you spent time and effort to get have to be turned sideways. They no longer count as connecting the route for all purposes, not just endgame, but for all purposes during the game, which matters. And at the end of the game, if you don't have a spare locomotive card, you can't write it and it's a failed route.
Right.
Are you freaking kidding me? This is ridiculous. You had tickets that go from San Francisco like all the way to the other end. Fair enough, they're worth a lot of points. But why would I take them? You can get a long route that goes from Tampa in Florida to the top left board, and it's safe. You don't have to worry about anything. But this, if I build a route from here, I've got to go through somewhere that causes me to have multiple locomotives at the end of the game, into the Haunted Waste, which randomly gives me curses. Why would I do that? It's stupid, it's lucky, and it's not fun when it happens to you. I had a game where literally the first route I built into Baja, you know, that later on it gives you a little bit of early acceleration. So I thought, I'm doing a long route from here to here. I need to complete these tickets for reasons. I'm going to build my first route into Baja. First event that came out of a, 30 card event deck? Baja gets earthquakes. I literally had my early game nerfed, and because I had to do other things as well, this happened in the final game. The final game where you got to go hunt Mama O'Connell, the one where it's like absolutely paramount that you get off to a quick early start to beat the others. That happened in my first term, took me out of the running instantly by random event card. That's enjoyable, is it? That's 10 out of 10 material, is it? No, it's random, it's lucky, and it's stupid.
It's stupid! It's stupid!
There's no incentive to build there until after you see the events come out of the deck, and even then there's an event that shuffles the event deck back in, so it could just come out later. It's just totally random. Like, somebody else could build in one half of California and never get hit by the card. Somebody else could literally just pop in there once and nerf them. And what if it happens at the end of the game? At the end of the game it comes out and it nerfs you. It's just stupid rule. Let's see, that's starter, I think, yeah, that's starter, and I think that's starter as well. So I think the only other one is, yes, this one, which is probably, I think, the best one in the game. Cascadia. This one had the Gold Rush. Now, annoyingly, the best board in the game lasts for one game. Literally just one game. That's it. It's done and it's dusted. But this one had you basically do a Gold Rush where you were given a card that said you had to connect one of these edge cities all the way across the other map to several other cities, and when you did it, you got a certain amount of money. This caused a very tight game because obviously everybody wanted to get there, all four of us. So, you know, the routes were getting taken up. There was a lot of contention, and there was certainly a lot of money on the run, and we knew there was a time limit, so everybody went for it. It felt like the Gold Rush. This was a mechanic that worked. It's just a shame that it only worked for one game. But it was a very enjoyable game, it was a very tight game, a contested game, and probably one of the highlights for the whole campaign. More like this, please. Unfortunately, you had to do dumb stuff like this first. So, yeah, out of all the Frontier boards, the Circus, pretty cool, but short-lived. The Gold Rush, pretty short, well, very short, but really good fun. And I've now just remembered what the Badlands offered. Yes, of course, now I remember what the Badlands offered. The Badlands gave you shares. That was it. Badlands gave you shares, which, to be fair, I enjoyed this from the Pennsylvania map. And I enjoyed it here. I also particularly like the way that you have them on face-up display, and you get them by claiming the color route, not by claiming a specific route. I thought that was quite a cool system and a nice little tweak. I wonder, you can't really house rule it into Pennsylvania, but I thought it was cool here. But we've seen this before. We've seen this in Pennsylvania. Yes, it works in Pennsylvania, but the exact rules, except for the display, is here. So, innovation? No, I mean, you've literally just copied your mechanic from an expansion and just tweaked it slightly. That's it. I mean, you couldn't think of something new, something cool like the circus thing or anything like that. Nope, you just literally had to regurgitate one of your previous expansions, and that was it. And the game was kind of like that throughout. I mean, the whole track bed thing where you get to put your color sticker on a route, lifted entirely from France. You know, I mean, I can't believe they didn't actually take anything from the UK map. The universally acknowledged best expansion for Ticket to Ride, not one aspect of the UK is in this game. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. What else we got in the magic box? Oh yeah, this thing. I was saying about in the review, like this Early Gimmick, that certainly probably jacked up the price, the hole puncher. That is quite cool. It's still got little bits in there, but yeah, I mean, it's a gimmick, but it was a fun gimmick to have to go through and like take all the cards and retire them. We opened this up, we didn't expect it, and I just thought, this was pretty cool. It's a cool component. I don't think I've got any use for it afterwards though, so I think it's still going in the bin, but yeah, it was a cool, fun little gimmick. The feel for the way the game's played out was that I mentioned it was going into rails and sails levels of length. It does. I mean, crying out loud. You start off only needing 20 trains. Nice quick game of Ticket to Ride. You need 56 in the last game. And yes, only in the final 3 games does it give you an acceleration at the start. But that acceleration is not enough. It's still lots of stuff you got to keep up with, lots of stuff you've got to track, lots of little fiddly bits, and it's still a very lengthy game. To the point where the best way to do well is tickets. Because normally in a game of Ticket to Ride, it's quite tricky to get a lot of tickets. You know, you've got to be a little bit of a gamble here. But here, you could happily start the game with 3 28-point tickets and probably still have enough trains to do them if they're on roughly the similar route. And you don't really have to worry too much about getting blocked because there's a lot of ways to get around once you've unlocked a few boards. So the tension was kind of lost there. But yeah, man, I mean, as these trains went up, the game length went up and I wasn't happy about that. It just elongated it to a point where I just wasn't interested. Let's see what else to talk about. I mentioned about trivializing the plot. Yeah, the plot. Mama O'Connell, whatever she's supposed to be, she's meant to put out occasional company towns on the board and it acts like your company towns, but they tax everybody rather than just, you know, for that player, right? This is the Great Plains. There is a pre-printed company town on there. There's the one that she added. That's it. She didn't add any more. She appeared, she added 1 in the game, and then it was in the discard pile, so we retired it. We retired it nice and early. And every time a card came up that said Mama O'Connell this, we retired it. Mama O'Connell literally was the least threatening villain that could have ever been in any game. I mean, we just did not care about the plot by the time we got to like game 3, frankly. And even then, the first 3 games weren't exactly like, ooh, good plot. No, it's like, wow, this is really scraping the barrel here with a butter knife trying to get some dregs of a story here. But yeah, by the end of it, it's like saying, she will now be arrested, her tyranny is at an end, you know, she will not be able to expand and, you know, take over the railroad companies and stuff. And it's like, really? We didn't really see she'd done anything at all. It's like, you know, this is the big threat that you're talking about. And we literally reduced her to 2 cities. 2 of which I don't think I ever visited in the game, Omaha and Davenport. I think I avoided these cities the entire campaign and never went to them. I stayed away from the top of the board on a regular basis and tended to stay more in the south and on the east coast. But man, yeah, I mean, wow, your great big bad was reduced to that. Ooh, scary. No, it's like, no, it's absolute rubbish. What else we got here? Oh, the postcards. Yes, I remember these postcards being like just crazy. You know, like, you know, stupid ones. I mean, where have we got? Have we got some postcards here that we can say, for example? Oh god, the hunt, actually. Let's talk about the hunt in the last game. This idea that when you got to the last game, you've got to go hunt Mama O'Connell down. So, okay, you essentially have 3 cards that you have to look at, 3 postcards, and you do it by having a completed ticket. This was the game where an earthquake nerfed me out of the running because it took away one of my 2 starting tickets instantly in the first turn. Okay, that's how swingy this is. But basically, you look at these 3 cards, it tells you, it narrows down where you've got to guess the city, and if you guess it right, you get $40, which is not insignificant. I mean, that is a good third of your final score in most of the games. That is insane. But literally, I was just short of being able to get it. I should have easily had it first, but because of that 1 nerf, I was out of the running. Yeah, 1 card, 1 event card, took me out of this. But this was so anticlimactic. I mean, this is your big bad, and all you're doing is going, ticket, look at a card, ticket, look at a card, ticket, look at a card. She's in Denver, I think it was. I think it was Denver she was in. Great, boom, done, $40. The end. That's it. I mean, the plot literally ends at that point, and you still have to finish the game, and then that's it. Wow. The most anticlimactic finale to a campaign ever. It was frankly pathetic. It was a pathetic end to the campaign, and it just felt so, like, basic. What events did we get rid of? Well, so we finished the circus ones, that was a given. We finished that one. Oh yeah, the Animal Sanctuaries one. Yeah, that barely did anything, so the Animal Sanctuaries were worthless. Mama O'Connell demands kickbacks. Retired. Mama O'Connell expands her networks. Came out once, we retired it instantly. Sabotage. Oh god, yeah, some of these events, oh my word. Sabotage. When this card is drawn, each player must pay $2 for each route they have claimed that is in or partially in the open range. That's insane. I mean, again, this goes back to the whole thing of the haunted wastes in California, being boards that you just don't want to build in. This took $12 off me in one game by complete randomness, because I was building into the open range. Sorry, my tickets required it of me. It's not like I could say no, okay? And, oh, I retired this so damn... No, I didn't retire it, I didn't come last, but we retired it as a group so damn fast because we acknowledged it was a stupid card. It's... some of these cards were just ridiculous. The whole... Oh yeah, the wild one I mentioned. When this card is visible, all white cards are wild. Wow. I mean, oh look, it's great that I've got no white cards at the time. So-and-so here has 5 of them. Oh look, there's 2 in the display and they've been taken. Great. And I have none of those white wilds. Oh look, I've managed to get a white wild. And then the event changes. This sort of stuff happens in the game all the time. Not just to me, to other players. Particularly the 2 who are losing most of the games. And it's not fun. It's not fun when this happens. This game punches you in the face randomly while you're trying to play what is already a Lucky Swinny game. And it just doesn't work. I don't feel bad about giving this a 4 anymore. I think actually it deserved that 4.
You're a monster!
So looking at my postcards here, what have we got? So you may punch this, I mean, this goes to show, I think I had a total of 6, maybe 7 postcards the whole campaign. Because I just never drew the tickets that got you postcards. And even when I did, they were in stupid locations that weren't worth taking. So I barely saw any of these, whilst everybody else was just hoovering them up. But what did I get? You can punch this when you move the ghost train. If you do, collect some money, and if it's punched 3 times, retire it, otherwise hang on to it for 6 points. Whoa, what a lame postcard. At the end of the game, if you show 2 completed tickets that have the same city on them, place this card into your vault, otherwise put it in your office. 12 or 6 points. It took me most of the campaign to get a situation where I had 2 tickets like that, but I mean, again, it's just a random 12 points. If you claim a route into Quebec and spend an additional locomotive, put it in your vault. Easy. I mean, one of the easiest things in the world. Easy 12 points. This was useless. After claiming a route, you may retire this card to add stickers of your colour to a track bed between any 2 cities. Don't put your trains on it. Otherwise, it's 6 points at the end of the campaign. Why would I bother using this? That's a pretty poor ability. I just hang on to it for the 6 points. But I'm trying to find the... Here we go. Marshals, help me out. Postcard 110. You do not have to pay the robber when he ends his move in a city with one of your routes. I got this early, hung on to it for the whole campaign because you need a certain event to come out, and it pretty much never did because, I mean, the event deck is not small, okay? That's probably not all of them, and that's still a sizable amount of events here that you have in the game. But, yeah, if the robber is put in jail or retired this card. Never got put in jail, never retired. I mean, I hung on to this and it literally trivialized the robber. It was kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, this video is already going on quite long. I've kind of said a piece on this. The game was just a big disappointment for me overall. And I've mentioned some bits here that just did not work. You know, a very anticlimactic ending with this hunt. You know, some aspects that just broke the game. One board and one employee broke an entire game. Come on. Postcards that are really swinny in terms of their points and how good they are and how bad they are. You know, cool mechanics that come into the game but are gone as soon as you're dealing with them. I mean, it took us 3 games to dish out all the shares that we could. It took us 2 games to dry up all the shares. It took us 1 game to do the gold rush. And those mechanics were some of the better ones in the game, and they were gone before you had a chance to really get into them. Dry Man's Gulch or whatever it was, yeah, Dry Man's Gulch was useless. You had to put money on this card, you know, whenever the robber did something to you. Somebody claimed money off it once. The event came out once for somebody to be able to do anything with this. Other than that, it was just literally sucking up coins, which we could have used to fill other people when we started running out of money. you know, it just didn't work. But yeah, I've said my piece. It was a disappointment. Too many things, too big, random, swingy, too punishing by a punch in the face at random. And the unlocks were just not, for the most part, that interesting. They were regurgitated ideas from expansions, which shows a lack of innovation. And by the end of this game, you know, you do get the ability to play this. So, you know, spoiler alert, it's underneath the insert, which is no surprise. That's where everything is. I deliberately did not lift up the insert because I knew something was going to be under there. You get to put a few stickers on and you get to play Ticket to Ride 1901 and play basically with company towns being basic. The events still being in there with the events that are specific. You have to take out a few. You still have the California bridges, you still have damaged routes, you still have piggybacking, and you still have shares to a lesser extent than Pennsylvania now. But that's basically it. So it's basically Ticket to Ride Pennsylvania with a couple of extra bits. I'd rather just play Ticket to Ride Pennsylvania, frankly, or any of the other Ticket to Rides. Like I say, this is a mess on the table, but it doesn't matter because it's literally all going to get stuffed into the box, and this is going in the recycling bin. No interest in playing this in 1901 fashion, and I have no interest in playing this a second time. This, I think, was an idea that could have been amazing. It started off fine. I was willing to give this a 7 out of 10, possibly even an 8 out of 10 in the first few games. That mark quickly dropped, and then when I got to the end of the campaign and considered everything as a whole, what it was building up to, and that, I'm settled at a 4 out of 10, below average. Don't want to play this again, and I don't recommend you lot do either. I think you should save your money and spend it on the Pandemic Legacies. The Pandemic Legacies are still easily the best Legacy game that has come out, but honestly, I just think the Legacy mechanic is done. I think we're done with this whole thing of, oh, we can play this once through and destroy everything in that, because it doesn't work often enough. Pandemic has the perfect setup, system you already know, and co-op. If you do those two things, your Legacy game will be fantastic. But competitive, a new system, just doesn't work. I mean, I've not played Clank Legacy. Maybe that's amazing, I don't know. But yeah, I think I'm just kind of done with Legacy games, and what a sour note to go out on. It's not your fault. That's it for me on this episode of Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then thumb it up on YouTube and thumb it up on Board Game Geek when it goes live on the site, alongside the non-spoiler review, which will come first. Don't forget to check out all the other reviews I've been doing on the channel. There is more to come besides. I need to get on with the Ark Nova Marine Worlds expansion review. You know, maybe something a bit more positive there for sure. But yeah, check out all the other content, and hopefully you've got some idea of what this game was like for me. Maybe the experiences differed with you. Maybe you think this is a 9, 10 out of 10. I will never understand why you give it a 9, 10 out of 10. But if you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. So it's just my opinion. You've got yours. We can agree to disagree. I don't think you're going to convince me to think that this is a solid game, but maybe the stars aligned and you didn't have all the imbalances, or maybe you just didn't care too much about them, but they just rubbed me the wrong way. Until next time, remember, regardless of what you want to stick your little hole puncher in next time, it's still only a game. Bye for now. This is easily the best thing that came in this box.